If you follow me on Twitter, you'd see I like to post about NASCAR during a race. NASCAR is one of my favorite sports, and I try to watch every race I can during the season. However, NASCAR has a severe problem. Many people outside of it view it as a joke. There are multiple reasons why people view NASCAR as a joke. One example is how Fox presents the sport during the broadcasts, such as terrible skits they do before a race, like the casino parody they did in Vegas. Another example is media such as Talladega Nights and Netflix's The Crew. I'm not saying you can't make parodies of any sport. I enjoy Talladega Nights and think it's hilarious. However, in comparison, Formula One gets movies like Rush and Netflix's Drive to Survive. Both take a serious look at the sport of Formula One and present it as a legitimate sport. So why can't NASCAR get a version of these? NASCAR has a long list of real-life stories which deserve a movie or series. Not only do they show how seriously drivers take this sport, but they also show how dangerous it could be. For those reasons, I'm Marco Strange, and these are my top 4 NASCAR movie/series ideas. At number 4, we had the 1994 Daytona Speed Weeks. For those unaware, NASCAR's season starts with the Daytona 500. It's one of the season's biggest races, with every driver hoping to win it at least once in their life. However, in 1994, drivers were more concerned with getting through the Daytona 500 alive. The reason was that 2 drivers had lost their lives during practice. Drivers Neil Bonnet and Ronnie Orr died only 4 days apart during practice for the race. Not only that, other drivers were desperate for answers because of how different these crashes were. Bonnet was a veteran who drove a Chevy, while Orr was a rookie who drove a Ford. Additionally, both wrecks happened at different parts of the racetrack. While NASCAR has made several improvements to keep the drivers safe, this was at a time before NASCAR created things like the Hans device to help save lives. Not only were these deaths heartbreaking, but they also made some drivers reconsider how dangerous it was to be a driver. It even led to veteran Jimmy Means announcing his retirement. Telling this story in a movie or short series would help show how dangerous NASCAR can be. At the same time, it could show how, despite rivalries, all drivers want to see each other walk away from a race unharmed. The best way to show this is to recreate Rusty Wallace's speech where he told the drivers to, quote, use your damn heads, unquote, while they were out trying to win. It's one of my favorite moments in NASCAR and something every driver should hear. At number 3, we have Dale Earnhardt's last full season. Most NASCAR fans will tell you that one of, if not the best, drivers in NASCAR history was Dale Earnhardt. Nicknamed the Intimidator, Earnhardt was known for doing anything to get the win. One of those things would be to push the person in front of him out of the way. However, by 2000, Earnhardt was on a bit of a downturn. While he was still winning between his final championship and his final season, his stats saw a drop at what he was used to finishing. His season rankings from 1995 to 1999 look like this: 2nd, 4th, 5th, 8th, 7th. While still competitive, he was also nearing 50, making people wonder when he would finally retire. Like everyone else, Earnhardt was reaching the age where most would get ready to retire. At this point, he had done everything you could do in NASCAR. He was the second person to win 7 championships in the sport and won some of the biggest races, such as the Daytona 500. Also, like I just said, his career seemed to be on a downturn, making it look like his career was nearing its end. However, Earnhardt was nowhere near being done, and he proved it in his last season. Earnhardt would finish 2nd in the season, almost winning his 8th championship. This season would also see his final win at Talladega in the fall. Not only was it his 10th win at Talladega, which is still the record of that track today, but he also won the race in the last few laps and had to jump from 18th to 1st. It's so impressive, someone uploaded the final few laps and put the song The Top over it from Initial D. If anyone's interested, the link to that will be in the description. Making a movie or series on the last year of Earnhardt's life would give new fans a chance to learn more about why he's still considered one of the best drivers in NASCAR. It could also show if he was considering retirement around this time and show what drives a person in his position to keep going when most would probably be satisfied accomplishing half of what he did. At number 2 is Wendell Scott. Love him or hate him, one of the most talked about drivers today is Bubba Wallace. Some will say he only gets noticed because of his race and say he's not a good driver. However, he proved them wrong in 2021 by getting his first win. That made Wallace the first African-American Cup Series driver to get a win in over 50 years. The previous one to do that was a man named Wendell Scott. Scott was the first African-American driver in NASCAR. Sadly, most only focused on his race back then. Black Pass mentions in Scott's bio that he got his first start in a smaller circuit because owners were trying to find a way to, quote, attract more people, unquote. The reason owners thought this would attract people is it was rare to see an African American be a race car driver at the time. However, he took that and proved he deserved to be there by going out and winning. Despite going out and winning in the lower circuits, it took several years for him to make it to NASCAR. Eventually, he did and would get a win in several top 10s over his career. However, NASCAR would ruin his first and only win by announcing the second place driver as the winner before correcting it a few days later. Before I go any further, I want to point this out now. Warner Brothers made Wendell Scott's career into a movie in the 70s called Greased Lightning. However, I not only think it's a story worth retelling, but also that a lot more has changed compared to the 70s. As stated earlier, Bubba Wallace is the first African American driver to win a NASCAR Cup race since Wendell Scott. To add even more to this story, Wallace got his first win in Talladega, where Scott's career ended after he crashed in 1973. Scott would make one more start after that, but his injuries at Talladega made him hang up his suit. Scott's story is inspirational as it shows that hard work did pay off and he got to compete in the top level of racing. Despite some only looking at him for his race, Scott took that opportunity to show he was a great driver. Scott helped open the door for NASCAR to become more diverse, and the least we could do for the Hall of Famer is tell his story in a movie or series to show how far NASCAR has come since then. And at number 1, Alan Kulwicki. One of the biggest underdogs in NASCAR history was Alan Kulwicki. The driver who introduced the Polish victory lap competed in NASCAR on his terms. What I mean by that was Kulwicki was also the owner of the team. When the owner of Kulwicki's team decided he wanted it out, Kulwicki bought it and became the owner. He did most of the work, like being the crew chief at first, but Kulwicki was a control freak, so he loved it. That's not me being mean to him either. Many people who worked for him have gone on to say he was a control freak, but in a good way. However, some would argue that made him crazy as he turned down driving Junior Johnson's 11 car. At the time, Junior Johnson's 11 car was one of the best in NASCAR. In other words, if you wanted to be a champion, that was the team that could make you one. You'd either need to be confident that you didn't need them, or be completely stupid to turn down that offer. Luckily for Kulwicki, it was the former. Despite his competition and mechanical issues, including losing first gear during the final race of the season, Kulwicki became the champion of the 1992 season. Even more poetic, the person he had to beat in the last race was Bill Elliott, who was driving the 11 car I talked about earlier. It's one of the greatest duels in NASCAR history, involving one of the most significant underdogs in the sport. Sadly, Kulwicki would pass away the following year because of a plane crash. Despite passing away soon after becoming champion, his legacy still lives on, with drivers sometimes doing the Polish victory lap after winning a race. For those unaware, that's when the driver drives around the track going the other way. Kulwicki was also the last owner-driver to win a championship until Tony Stewart did it in 2011. Kulwicki was the classic underdog story of the small guy trying to compete in a sport against the giant teams that are the favorites to win every year. He showed you can go out and win a championship on your own, and that's why Alan Kulwicki's story is number 1 on my list. What do you think of my ideas for future movies or series based on NASCAR? Do you have your own ideas on stories that would be an excellent idea for a series or movie? Let me know in the comments below. If you're interested in learning more about any of these stories, I'll leave some links in the description to help me make this list. Don't forget, if you enjoyed this video and want to see more of my content, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel. I'm Marco Strange. Stay safe, stay strange.